Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and lock your doors. You have entered the world of the unknown. Welcome to the Dead Hour broadcast.
It was raining heavily in Dhaka that night. The kind of rain that drowns out the world, turning the city lights into blurred streaks of neon. Inside the basement of Echo Studios, Samir sat alone. He was a sound engineer, obsessed with restoring vintage audio reels. The clock on the wall ticked loudly. Tick, tick, tick. It was 11:55 p.m. Samir picked up the reel he had found earlier that day in a clearance sale at an old radio station. It was a heavy, metallic reel, rusted at the edges. No label, just a piece of masking tape with a time written on it in shaky red ink. 12:03 a.m. "Let's see what secrets you hold," Samir whispered to himself. He threaded the tape into the machine. The reel began to spin. Whir, click. At first, there was only static, white noise. It sounded like wind blowing through a hollow tunnel. Samir adjusted the equalizer, trying to clean up the sound. He put on his heavy noise-canceling headphones. Suddenly, the static cut out. Silence. Absolute, dead silence. Then a sound. Thump. 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 It sounded like footsteps. Heavy, wet footsteps walking on a wooden floor. Samir frowned. The fidelity was incredible. It sounded like the person was walking right next to the microphone. Then a voice spoke. It was a whisper, raspy and dry. "Don't turn around, Samir." Samir froze. His blood ran cold. He hit the stop button immediately. The reels jerked to a halt. The silence of the studio was deafening. "How," he stammered, "how does this tape know my name?" He looked at the reel. It was old, at least 30 years old. The dust on it was thick. It was impossible. He laughed nervously. "It's a prank. Ashik must have swapped the tapes. Very funny, Ashik." But Ashik had gone home 3 hours ago. Samir was the only person in the building. Curiosity, the fatal flaw of all men, took over. Samir hit play again. The tape continued. "I told you not to stop the tape, Samir. Now you've let it out." Samir's heart hammered against his ribs. The voice on the tape sounded strangely familiar. It sounded like an older, more terrified version of himself. "It's 12 a.m. now. You have 3 minutes. The door is locked. The window won't open. It hates the light. Turn off the light, Samir. If you want to live, turn off the light." Samir ripped the headphones off his head. "This is insane!" He shouted into the empty room. He stood up and walked to the studio door. He grabbed the handle. It wouldn't budge. He pulled harder. Locked. "Hey, is anyone out there?" he screamed. No answer. Only the muffled sound of thunder from the street above. He checked his watch. 12:01 a.m. He ran to the control desk. The tape was still playing even though the headphones were on the desk. The voice was coming through the studio monitors now, loud and distorted. 1 minute left. It's in the hallway. Can you hear the scratching? Samir stopped breathing. He listened. From the other side of the heavy soundproof door, he heard it. Scratch. Like long fingernails dragging down the metal surface of the door. Scratch. The sound was getting louder. The tape reel was spinning faster now, faster than it should be physically possible. The voice on the speakers turned into a shriek. "It's here! Samir, hide! 12:03! It happens at 12:03! Samir looked at the digital clock on the mixing desk. 12:02:50. 10 seconds. The scratching stopped. The doorknob began to turn slowly. Creak. Panic overtook him. He remembered the warning, turn off the light. Samir lunged for the main breaker switch on the wall. He slammed his hand down. Click! The studio plunged into pitch blackness. The only light came from the small red LED of the recording light on the console. The door burst open. A gust of cold, rotting air filled the room. Samir crouched behind the mixing desk, holding his breath, tears streaming down his face. He could hear breathing, but it wasn't human breathing. It was a wet, rattling sound. The thing moved into the room. It walked past the desk where Samir was hiding. He could smell it, like stagnant water and old blood. The tape machine, still spinning in the dark, suddenly clicked. The tape had reached the end. The reel flapped loosely. Flap, flap, flap. Then the power came back on. The lights flickered and buzzed to life. Samir stood up slowly, trembling. The room was empty. The door was wide open. "It's over," he gasped, wiping sweat from his forehead. "It was just a hallucination. Stress." He walked over to the tape machine to remove the cursed reel. He wanted to burn it. He reached out to grab it, but then he froze. The tape wasn't empty. It was recording. The red light was on. He looked at the digital counter. It read 12:03 a.m. He leaned in closer. He hadn't pressed record. The machine had done it by itself. He rewound the last 10 seconds to hear what had just been recorded. He pressed play. He heard himself from 10 seconds ago, breathing heavily, and then right behind his own recorded breathing, he heard a whisper. "I found you." Samir felt a cold hand touch his shoulder in the real world. He turned around, and the screen went black.
The story ends here, but the fear remains. If you want to survive the night, hit that subscribe button. And remember, don't look under your bed tonight.